They said anyone who tasted her stew couldn't forget her. Not the flavor, not the heat, not her face. But what they didn't know was that Mama Peace's stew was no ordinary stew. And when the truth finally came out, it would shake the entire village to its core. By sunrise, people were already standing in front of Mama Peace's buka like they had nowhere else to go. The line bent like a question mark, full of hungry faces who trusted one thing, that Mama Peace's food never disappointed. Her buka was the biggest in Odogu market now, a bright big signpost that everyone could see from far away. Under it sat her long wooden table filled with bowls, smoke and magic nobody could explain. The signboard above her head said, "Mama Peace, food that holds you." Before, people laughed at the name. Now, they said it with respect and maybe a little fear. Mama Peace moved like someone who had been doing this forever. Scoop stew, drop meat, smile small, wipe sweat, serve another plate. Her hands worked with quiet power, like the pot spoke to her, and she understood what it wanted. The steam rose and kissed her face gently, making her cheeks shine. The smell from the pot curled into people's noses, sat in their hearts, and refused to leave. Workers bounced on their feet, ready to run late for work but unwilling to miss her food. Traders counted their change twice just to be sure they could afford extra meat. Children hugged their small coins as if they were keys to heaven. Even people who swore they wouldn't eat outside found themselves at her table somehow. Across the dusty road, leaning against a closed stall, stood Ngozi. Her eyes were sharp but tired. Once, she used to own the buka everybody talked about. People begged for her jollof. Men argued over the last piece of fish in her pot. Her earrings used to shine in the sun. Now, her ears were empty, and her wrapper looked older than her dreams. She watched the crowd like someone who had lost something she could never touch again. "Una no day tire," she muttered, her voice bitter and dry. "Every day the same pot, she don charm all of Una." Nobody answered. Nobody even looked her way. They were too busy waiting for their turn, too busy breathing in the sweet danger of Mama Peace's stew. Spoons were already clinking. Bowls were being emptied faster than they were filled. Some people licked their fingers with their eyes closed, like they were remembering something soft and warm. "Mama Peace, add meat for me. I beg," a man said, sweat on his forehead, but joy in his voice. "Make I hold you," she replied calmly, her lips curving into a slow, knowing smile. Ngozi's chest tightened. She watched that smile and shivered even though the sun was hot. Something wasn't right, but nobody wanted to believe that, because the food was too good, too hot, too unforgettable, and once it entered your mouth, it held you just like the sign said. Long before the line in front of her became longer than the morning sun, Mama Peace was just another tired woman with a pot, a dream, and a stomach that cried louder than her voice. When she first came to Odogwu Market, she didn't even have a proper table. She sat near the corner where the dust danced with the wind and people walked past as if she was invisible. Her umbrella was torn at both sides, and her firewood cried with smoke more than it gave heat. Back then, Ngozi ruled the market like a queen. Her pot was big and proud, her laughter loud, her wrappers always new. People rushed to her buka like bees rushing to honey. Men joked there, women gossiped there, children licked plates clean there. When Ngozi stirred her stew, even people walking far away would stop to sniff the air. Mama Peace sat opposite her, small, quiet, unnoticed. "Buy food, a beg," she would say softly. Sometimes people smiled politely and kept walking. Sometimes they didn't even look back. By afternoon, her pot still looked full. By evening, the food inside would be cold and sad. Mama Peace would pack the untouched food, tie it in a small nylon, and walk home with slow steps. Her slippers dragged against the ground. Some days she ate the leftover food herself. On worse days, even she didn't want to touch it. One evening, she sat alone in her one-room house, staring at her pot. She had made only 200 naira the whole day. Her eyes were wet, but tears refused to fall. Hunger pressed her chest like a hand. "God, wetin I do you?" she whispered. Sleep came late, but something else came first. Much later, when the room was dark and even sleep had forgotten her, someone entered. She didn't hear a door open. She didn't hear footsteps. But suddenly, an old woman stood in the corner. The woman's wrapper flowed like smoke. Her eyes were calm, too calm. Mama Peace wanted to scream, but fear held her throat. The old woman looked at her without blinking. "You want them to eat from your pot," she said softly. Mama Peace didn't answer, but the tears on her face spoke. The woman moved closer, bent slightly, and whispered something into her ear, something short, something strange, something that made Mama Peace freeze like cold water had touched her soul. Mama Peace's eyes widened. I can't do that," she whispered with shaky lips. The old woman only smiled slow, sure and unsettling. "Then remain hungry," she said. "Remain unseen, remain forgotten." She turned as if to walk away, but disappeared before reaching the door. Mama Peace sat frozen. She didn't sleep again. By morning, something in her had changed. She didn't speak of the old woman. She didn't tell anyone what she heard. She simply tied her wrapper, picked up her pot, and returned to the market with a new silence in her eyes. That day, things began to shift. One person stopped to taste. Then came another. Then another. Nobody understood why. Not even Mama Peace. But after that night, her story took a different road. One that did not lead back. And so, in Odogu Market, Mama Peace stood like a giant tree no one could cut down. Day by day, her Buka swallowed customers the way the ocean swallows stones. People stopped trying other places. They said once you had eaten from Mama Peace, other food tasted weak, empty, like it had no life inside it. Other food sellers packed their pots and left one after the other. Their dreams dried up like rainy season puddles under hot sun. Nobody could compete. Nobody could explain why. Even people who had sworn to cook only at home found themselves just passing by her table and then sitting down. Some said her food had a way of calling you. Some said once you tasted it, your body would remember before your mind did. Ngozi still watched from a distance, with bitter eyes and a silent mouth. She saw what the market had become. She hated it, but she ate from her own pot now, alone. Then, one afternoon, a stranger came. He wasn't loud. He didn't look confused by the crowd. His name was Chinedu, a part-time worker from Enugu who had come to help at a small office close to the market. He wore simple shirts, carried a small bag and minded his own business. But his colleagues didn't. "Come with us," they said. "We dey go Mama Peace Buka, best stew in the whole state." Chinedu didn't argue. He followed them. The moment he sat down and the first spoon of stew touched his tongue, he paused. It was delicious. Too delicious. The flavor didn't just stay in his mouth. It moved through him, slow and heavy, like it was trying to settle inside him. He swallowed, but his heart didn't calm. He looked around. Everyone else was smiling, laughing, eating fast like the food would run. But Chinedu frowned slightly. There was something strange, something under the taste, something he couldn't name but couldn't ignore. That night, he had a dream. He was sitting at the same buka, but the pot was breathing. He couldn't see Mama Peace's face clearly, only her smile, slow and wide, like someone who knew a secret she would never share. He woke up sweating. The next day, he went again, not because he wanted to eat, but because he wanted to understand. The food tasted the same. But now he was watching her hands, watching her eyes, watching how people's expressions changed after the first bite. There was something happening here that wasn't normal. This is not just food. By the fourth day, he stopped eating. But he didn't stop going. Instead, Chinedu began to follow her movements after closing time, quietly, like a shadow with questions. And slowly, Mama Peace noticed. At first, Chinedu only watched from a distance. He noticed that Mama Peace never allowed anyone to come near her pot while cooking, not even to help carry plates. She always cooked alone, early enough that nobody ever truly saw when she started. By the time others arrived, the stew was already bubbling like it had been waiting for them. He noticed too that some customers, after eating, would lean back with a strange, calm smile, as though they had just remembered something they didn't want to forget again. A few even returned twice in one day. Each evening when she packed up, she did not walk home immediately like others. Instead, she always took a small road first, a narrow path most people ignored. After a short while, she would return with her face slightly wet, as though she had washed it, but no water source was known in that direction. Chinedu kept following, quietly, never too close. Night after night, strange dreams hunted him. He saw her pot breathing. He heard whispers inside the stew. He saw people eating and their faces melting into someone else's face. He woke up each time with a racing heart and stronger suspicion. One early morning, before the cock crowed and before the sun fully pushed darkness away, Chinedu decided to go earlier than usual. The market was quiet, still half asleep. Only a few early risers moved like ghosts in the mist. Then he saw her, Mama Peace. She wasn't dressed in her usual colourful wrapper. She wore a dark cloth tied around her chest and waist. She walked silently, holding a small calabash in her left hand and her cooking spoon in the right. She didn't look around. She moved like she already knew the world was asleep. Curious and cautious, Chinedu followed from a distance. Instead of heading toward the market, she turned left and walked toward a small canal behind the market, a place most people ignored because the water there was murky and still. When she reached the canal, she knelt down beside it, dipped the calabash into the dirty water, and filled it. Then she stood, She raised her face slightly toward the sky, even though the sky was still dark, and began to mutter words. Not prayers, not blessings. Something else. Something heavy. Something strange. Her voice was low, but the sound made Chinedu's skin crawl. Then, slowly, she dipped her fingers into the calabash and started washing her body with the canal water from her face down to her arms, still muttering the strange words as though she was anointing herself. Chinedu froze behind a tree, breath stuck in his throat. It wasn't normal. It wasn't ordinary. And whatever it wasn't good. As Mama Peace continued washing, she paused suddenly, her head turning slightly, as though she sensed something nearby. Chinedu pressed himself against the tree, heart pounding so loudly he feared it would betray him. The canal was silent. Her chants stopped. Then she smiled, not at anyone, just to herself, and continued. Chinedu knew then, without any doubt, something dark lived behind that stew, and he was now too close to walk away. Chinedu could not sleep for days after what he saw. His mind kept replaying the image of Mama Peace washing herself in canal water and whispering those strange words. Days later, unable to bear it anymore, he rushed back to Odogwu Market. The day had barely started, but the crowd was already forming around her buka, like always eager, smiling, hungry for something they didn't understand. He couldn't take it anymore. He stepped forward, stood near the queue, and raised his voice. "Stop eating her food," he shouted. "Something is wrong with it. I saw her one morning washing herself in dirty canal water while saying strange things. This is not normal." The people turned to look at him. Then they laughed. One man shook his head. "I beg, leave us. If you no one chop, come out," a woman hissed. "Jealousy go finish you. You think you're the first person to accuse her?" Another man scoffed. "Nah, because she no give you free meat." Even his work colleagues, who once invited him joyfully to eat there, stepped back from him like he was speaking madness. "Guy, you don't overthink," one of them said. "Just say you know like the stew again," another added. "Better calm down before people think you're cursed," a third whispered. They walked away from him, laughing, eating, enjoying, leaving him standing alone like a broken drum in an empty room. For a moment, he felt stupid. Maybe he should just forget. Maybe he was imagining things, but then someone stepped forward. Someone who did not laugh. Someone who did not call him crazy. Ngozi. She stood a few steps away, arms folded, eyes fixed on Mama Peace's buka, with quiet fire. "I believe you," she said calmly. Chinedu looked at her, breathing heavily. "Why?" he asked. "Because I've watched this woman rise in a way nobody can explain," Ngozi replied. "I was once the queen of this market. Customers fought to sit at my table. Then she came from nowhere, and everybody left me like I never existed. Even my best customers couldn't stop eating her food. They said it called them." Her voice shook slightly, not with fear, but with anger. Chinedu nodded slowly. "Then you know something is wrong." Ngozi's jaw tightened. "I've always felt it, but nobody listened to me, they said. I was only bitter. Now you've seen something. That means something can be proved." Chinedu looked at her with new hope. "So what do we do?" Ngozi stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If we want people to believe us, we need proof." Chinedu's heart beat faster. "Proof?" she nodded. Yes, we need to record her. Let them see with their own eyes what we see in the shadows. Chinedu hesitated, remembering the way Mama P suddenly paused by the canal as if sensing someone nearby. She's careful. She may know when someone is watching her. Ngozi's eyes hardened. Then we must be more careful. They turned their eyes back toward the Buka. Mama Peace was serving food again, smiling her calm smile, steam rising around her like a crown of secrets. And somewhere, deep inside Chinedu's chest, fear and determination shook hands. A few nights later, when the sky was still black and even roosters were silent, Chinedu and Ngozi followed her again. This time, they were ready. They didn't go too close. They hid behind trees, far enough that she wouldn't sense them, but close enough for the phone camera to see. Just like before, she walked in silence toward the canal. Dark cloth, small calabash, spoon in hand. She scooped the dirty water. She lifted her face. She began to mutter the strange words again. Words that didn't sound like prayer. Words that made the air feel colder. Then, with a slow calmness, she dipped her hand into the calabash and washed her face, her arms, and her chest, smiling slightly as she did so. Chinedu held the phone still. His hands shook, but he did not stop. Ngozi's breathing was heavy, but silent. They captured everything, and when she was done and walked away, humming quietly, they did not follow her home. They ran. By morning, the video was everywhere, shared from phone to phone, stall to stall, bus stop to Okada Park. At first, many refused to believe it. No, it's edited. She's just washing early, leave her. Stop trying to destroy a hard-working woman. But as more people watched and re-watched her strange smile, her chanting, the way she used canal water on her body like it was part of cooking, fear started to build. Then anger followed. A crowd gathered at Odogwu Market, larger than any queue that had ever formed for her food. They didn't come to eat this time. Mama Peace, come out now. Mama Peace, what did you feed us? Nah, our blood, you day use cook? Mama Peace stepped out of her tent, trying to look calm. What is all this noise? She asked firmly. Una one drive me out because I am successful? But the people were shouting, some crying, some shaking. That video no be you, a man yelled, holding up his phone. Mama Peace frowned. Which video? That nonsense is not me. Enemies are working. The crowd argued loudly. Some still believed her, others didn't. The tension was tight like a drum. Then one woman screamed. She had gone behind the cooking area and lifted a clay pot half hidden under a stool. Inside it was murky water with leaves floating in it. The same type of muddy canal water seen in the video. The crowd went silent for a moment. Even the wind seemed to stop. Mama Peace's eyes widened when she saw the clay pot revealed. Explain this one, someone shouted. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Hands began reaching toward her. She suddenly pushed two people aside with unexpected strength and ran fast, desperate, wild. Catch her! Someone screamed. But she was already gone, disappearing into the narrow paths behind the market in her hurried wrapper, leaving only fear and fury behind. In the days that followed, people stopped eating at any Buka for a while. Many were sick with panic more than illness. Some swore they could still taste her stew even after brushing 3 times. Others said they heard her voice whispering in dreams. Ngozi returned as a cook again, but with soft humility and customers who now chewed slowly, watching their plates like enemies. Kinedu left Odogu months later, quieter and forever changed. Nobody ever saw Mama Peace again. But every now and then, when a pot of stew smells too good, someone will whisper, "Hope this one no be Mama Peace, sister." Months passed, and life went on carefully. Then, far away in another city, far from Odowu, where no one knew her name, something new began. In a bustling market in Aba, traders one morning noticed a fresh red umbrella standing proudly at the edge of the street, bigger than the others. A new signboard leaned against it. It was freshly painted, the letters bold and clear. "Mama Mercy, food that holds you." People laughed at the name at first, but by the third day, the line had begun to bend like a question mark. Behind the pot stood a woman with a calm smile, moving with quiet confidence. Scoop, serve, smile. Steam kissed her cheeks, and if you looked closely, just closely enough, her smile looked a little too familiar. So, before you eat at any buka, be very sure the woman smiling behind the pot is not Mama Peace. Because once you taste her stew, it will never let you go. Moral of the story: not every smiling cook serves peace, and not every delicious meal is safe. In a world where people will do anything for success, be careful what you eat. Be careful who you trust, because some pots feed the stomach but poison the soul.